كاذبا أو كذب بآياته إنه لا يفلح الظالمون. Only those, the one who forged the lie is upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who does not believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his signs. My brothers and sisters, sometimes what will happen is we interpret the Quran according to what we think. If that is not true, it's considered as lying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the scholar says, if you like to interpret any ayah of the Quran, you have to know first what Allah says subhanahu wa ta'ala, in particular this ayah. There is many ayah. Al-Quran yufassiru ba'dahu ba'd. The Quran will explain by itself. Some ayat will explain to the others. For example, my brothers and sisters, we say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, Allah guide us the straight path. So anyone can say this is the straight path. But Allah has explained in many ayat what He means the straight path. He says, صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم أولئك الذين أنعم الله عليهم من النبيين والصديقين والشهداء. So Quran will explain by itself. And also, when we don't get it from the Quran, we have to go with the Prophet says. My brothers and sisters, one time Allah has revealed subhanahu wa ta'ala in ayah saying, الذين آمنوا ولم يلبسوا إيمانهم بظلم أولئك لهم الأمن وهم مهتدون. Allah says subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Allah, آمنوا ولم يلبسوا, and then did not mix their faith with wrongdoing, بظلم. أولئك لهم الأمن. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the guidance only those. And those are the ones Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided. When this ayah came, the Sahaba, the companions, they came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, Allah has revealed many ayat. But this ayah, Allah says subhanahu wa ta'ala, anyone who believes Allah and then did not mix his faith with the wrongdoing. They say, Ya Rasulullah, none of us, all of us, we are not safe doing something wrong. So if we do something wrong, we will not have security from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will not have been guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They say, it's tough on us. The Prophet says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that is not what Allah means subhanahu wa ta'ala. So sometimes, my brothers and sisters, we understand from the Quran in different ways what Allah does not mean and His Messenger does not mean. Then the Prophet explained to them and said, did you read when Luqman alayhi salatu wasalam said to his son, Ya bunay, la tushrik billah. Oh my son, do not associate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with anything. Inna dhulma la shirkun azim. The dhulm, the wrongdoing, la shirkun azim, means when the person is associated with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is what Allah means the wrongdoing in the other ayah. So, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ. Those who have faith, iman, and did not mix with their faith with making partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He believes Allah, but also he believes something else. Those Allah will not guide them. So the Prophet explained to them what it means, the ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we took from the ayah and driven from the ayah some meaning that makes sense to our mind, before we spoke out, before we say, we have to look what Allah says subhanahu wa ta'ala and what the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in this ayah. It's not allowed to us to interpret the Quran the way we wish and the way we want. So if someone goes like that direction, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنِ افْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا, who has doing more sin than the one who fabricates and saying lie about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowingly and unknowingly. So, lying about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very, very, very tough job, my brothers and sisters. Sometimes nowadays, my brothers and sisters, if you look our ummah, our nations, our brothers and sisters, sometimes I get so sad and mad. And I see other one is doing something wrong. Because I get upset, I get mad on him, I will say some ayat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and from the Messenger. In order to show others he is wrong, he is enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because of my anger. Because I dislike him. Because I don't like him. So I will bring some ayat and some ahadith in order to be kill that person, or in order to show others he is enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By the way, my brothers and sisters, no one exactly knows who is the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can see the characters. We can say that this character is who does, he is the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But particular person, so and so, it's not allowed to us. We can talk about his behavior, his character, what he's doing. If he is continue this and doing this, that will make him enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So naming others because they are enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not mean you are saying the truth. Maybe you have kind of misunderstanding of the belief of the person. Allah says subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Mumtahina, عسى الله أن يجعل بينكم وبين الذين عاديتم منهم مودة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can make friendship between you and your enemy. Your enemy. Those you are considering, they are your enemy. May Allah is able subhanahu wa ta'ala to make friendship between you and them. Because Allah can do whatever he wants. So sometimes we consider some people the enemy to us, but they are not the enemy to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to be careful when we like to interpret and say to someone, he is enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially when he says, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. عسى الله أن يجعل بينكم وبين الذين عاديتم منهم مودة والله قدير والله غفور رحيم. And brothers and sisters, what we have to understand is, we like to understand, and nowadays it's going to our ummah, our nation. We feel like in order to kill someone else is lawful for me, it's halal for me because he's the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How about if that enemy, as you considering he's your enemy, how about if he's underage? How about if he's 11, if he's 10 years old, he's 14 years old, he's underage? Which religion and which Islam allows you to kill so and so because he's the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So declaring someone he is enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it needs collective opinion of the scholars. The scholars, they have to come and look at the Quran and the Sunnah, and then they can declare so and so is the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because he's doing this and this and this. But as an individual, as me and you, we cannot say someone he is kafir or he is fasiq or he is enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if anyone says to his brother or his sister, ya kafir. This word of saying kafir, the Prophet said, will go up to the heavens. So when the angels see these words, they close the gates of the heavens of the gates. So the words will come back to the earth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will close the gates of the earth. And these words cannot go deep to the earth. Then the Prophet says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the word will look left and right to see where it should go. She will not get anywhere to go. Then it will go the one you say to. But if he is not, or if she is not, it will come back to you. These words will not fall in an empty place, as the Prophet explained to us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So we have to be cautious and careful, naming the people with a name that is like enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or who is fasiq, or he is kafir. It's not easy words to say. You can say what he is doing, what she is doing is wrong. That's what leads to be enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what it will lead us to be the